Hello everyone, I'm Krasi. And Mars becomes invisible on 1st of June and will be invisible for quite some time until 3rd of November. Mars will be invisible. This is important because let's see first what is the nature of the invisible Mars. Who is Mars? I will remind you some details from the ancient Babylonian mythology which describe Mars. So Mars in the ancient Babylonian mythology is Nergal, and he is the ruler of the netherworld. So there is where he feels comfortable. There he is the king. So this is Nergal. And of course we know that Mars is exalting in Capricorn. This is his hidden place. So, but also we know that for our era, Mars feels very well in Sagittarius. And right now, Mars, I will share, of course, my screen with you, but before I do this, just to tell you. So right now, Mars is in Gemini, which is the sign of the summer equinox. And Mars, imagine, who loves Nergal, who loves the netherworld, to be placed in the sign which is determined, which is like receives the light of the sun due to the equinox of the sun. This is not really the place where Mars feels very happy, as it is against the sign where he is exalted, where the hidden place of Mars for our era, which is Sagittarius. So let me share my screen with you to illustrate how I imagine, how I see that this particular heliacal phase of Mars will influence us. So I'm sharing my screen, and here you are. Well, so this is the chart, sidereal chart of 1st of June. Look, this is Mars in Gemini making opposition, of course, to Sagittarius, where we have Saturn, Pluto, Ketu retrograde. And of course, already this opposition is quite dense one, and we know this, we'll be describing this in many videos. But what is very interesting here, of course, is that Mars is not only that he's joining Rahu, and of course, Mars and Rahu, it is not a bad conjunction. And when the exact moment of this conjunction comes, I will explain you what this means. But here, we concentrate more on this particular moment of the disappearance of Mars, because the beginning of every cycle will describe the whole cycle. So yes, Mars will disappear on 1st of June, will go through the signs, and will appear in Virgo. In Virgo. So here he disappears and appears in Virgo on the 25th degrees of Virgo. So he will be passing through 4 signs, finally to raise heliacally in Virgo and to make square with Saturn. But this is for later. Now the key thing really is the moment of the disappearance of Mars. He is disappearing in a place where he is not pleased, not happy to be in. And this is also because he is opposing his brother Pluto, as they rule together Scorpio. So by no means he's happy in Gemini, and certainly he's, yes, descending into the netherworld when he will become invisible. He is ruling there, so this is fine, but he won't be having peace. He won't receive the pleasure and the rest that he normally would if he would disappear and become invisible in other sign, like in Sagittarius or like in Capricorn. Now also, look what is happening in this very particular moment, because this is the beginning of his cycle of disappearance. So the key thing is to describe this. Later on, of course, he changes a lot. He passes Cancer, he passes Leo, he ends up invisible in Virgo, but all the way through his disappearance, of course, his nature will be changing. But still, the chart of his disappearance will keep influencing his behavior. So when he disappears, his ruler, uh, um, Hermes, Mercury, is becoming visible. At the moment of the Martian disappearance, Mercury at the very same moment is becoming visible, but then the moon becomes invisible. And where? You see, in Aries. So this is very much to emphasize on this disappearance. It is like to see the disappearance of Mars through the lens of the moon, because the moon is becoming invisible for 3 days in Aries. And also, what is very interesting, well, this is to emphasize on this disappearance, but what is, again, the meaning of it? Now, we know that this particular section of Gemini, where Mars is disappearing, the 13th to 18 degrees, these 5 particular degrees, are where you have one interesting constellation rising, and this is the Satyr. And this Satyr is holding in his hand a stick and a dog. So these particular degrees of Gemini are very much about conflicts. They are very much about the stick in the hands of the satyr or the dog. So these degrees, even though ruled by Venus, are having Martian qualities and Martian energies. Of course, the disappearance of Mars in the term ruled by, because the section of Gemini, where Mars will be disappearing, is ruled by Venus. So this will influence our relationship a little bit, can make them too emotional, too tense, too deep emotional. And also, this disappearance is emphasizing a bit on the finances of the people, and this is not for good, because also the moon is disappearing simultaneously in conjunction with Venus. I see this as not very good sign for the world finances and for the economy in general. It won't be good. Now, yes, Mercury becomes visible heliacally, and will continue his visibility also in Gemini, where he will meet Mars. But the thing is that Mercury is not solely, will not help so much the economy, and also from the very last degrees, which are not so. Well, there is the star Capella, which is about money, yes. But this can bring a lot of expenses, as Jupiter is making opposition, and also is in a very special heliacal phase of his retrograde motion. So I see this Martian disappearance as enhancing conflicting, hidden energies, some of which will not be good. They will be very destructive. They will be hidden. They will be surprising. They will be they will appear in a way that we don't like them. So this would say that we need to be cautious in order to be on the safe side, because the Martian energies will be very, very powerful. And on this particular day, on this particular chart, Mars is ruling the chart. And let's not forget, in addition, that we are living in the sub-era, in the mini-era of Mars, of Aries. So we live in the mini-era of Aries because the vernal, the spring equinox, is passing through the dodecatemoria of Aries. So in a way, Martian energies, moon disappears in Aries. Mars is disappearing where the Saturn is so Martian, so conflicting, that I unfortunately see this as possibilities for openings of conflicts, of all kinds of hostilities, which will be unexpected, which will be a result of the hidden, unpleased, as Mars is not very pleased, nature of Mars in Gemini when he descends into the netherworld, but is sort of angry. He receives the opposition of Saturn. He's receiving the opposition, the conflicting opposition of his brother, let's say, Pluto. So, well, I think this is to say that when we're very spiritual, and with the position of Jupiter at this moment, when Jupiter is in a phase called acronical rise, which can be compared to his birth. When Jupiter is being born in a phase called acronical rise, this would say that our solution, because when there is a problem in nature, the nature also comes always with solution. So our solution is through our connection with the spirit world, spiritual work, and maintaining high moral values and high vibrational levels, all these. For the rest, we need to be very cautious in our routine life, in everything we do, because the Martian energies, when invisible, and when Mars is not so happy, can be unpredictable, and not only in relation to the economy, but can be unpredictable in any area of our lives, and this depends on each one's chart. Absolutely no reason for any fears, because Mars is it's not the first time when Mars is invisible, but this is a bit tense because Mars is invisible in opposition with Saturn, with Pluto. So this would say we need to be cautious. We need to be cautious with the people around us, empathic, respectful, moral. So this is how I will complete my analysis. If you have comments, please share your comments. If you want me to see how your Mars is placed on your chart, also feel free to contact me. Thank you.